Hey. Hello, and welcome back. Today we'll be discussing episode 30 of the Dicely campaign, A Gift of Charity. We begin the episode with the Seekers of Sicramund hanging out with the champions of the Prolium after their grueling combat in the arena. We share drink, meal, personal fact, and legends of old between the groups. Gideon goes out to sign autographs and promote the Seekers of Sicramund. Because it is in fact all about branding. Just saying. Matt Costin, our special guest, returns this episode as Vermin. He regales us with an interesting tale of a storm giant called Otez the Far-Reacher. This tale was really neat to listen to. I personally really love world building, and fun fact for the audience, Matt, our guest, was one of the minds that Denny, our dungeon master, bounced a lot of his ideas off of during the creation of the world and sort of the creation of the story and whatnot. So Matt holds all the secrets. Vermin, being a rune knight, is somebody who has studied a lot of ancient lore and magic from giants. And Vermin sort of tries to set up an exchange of information. He will give us information on the giants, and in return, we will give Vermin information on where Azaria managed to pick up their Mariner's Armor. The Mariner's Armor being the set we procured at the Water Druid Enclave in the Smoking Gulf. Azaria is hesitant to reveal the location of the Druid Enclave, and reasonably so. During that discussion, Drac notices that Bernarda, the champions of the Prolium's dwarven cleric, has been staring at Abe just way too much. Way too much. It's... Bernarda, stop what you're doing. With the information that we already had, that Starborn, aka Tiefling, Aasimar, and Argonfolk have all been disappearing, being abducted or whatever, and with our encounters with the bugs, where they literally tried to carry off Abe into wherever the hell they hang out, this is a red flag. Unfortunately for our dwarven friend here, hold that thought. Vermin then informs us about the nature of shifters. We learn a lot. I'm going to have more points later that we learn, so I'm going to try and skim over this. Vermin then informs us of the nature of shifters, being descended from druid bloodlines in this setting. It was a fun and cool conversation, and we learned a lot about the champions. My personal favorite is Rolo. He's a little cobbled. He uses the arena money to pay for his tuition. And I love that. Before we leave, Vermin grants us some of the abilities of his runes for the day, and we set off and we say goodbye to Matt. I'm sure we will see him again later down the line, but for now, it's goodbye. So we leave the Prolium, and we make our way back to the Wanderlust Inn, but we are interrupted on our way back. We are met by one Justicar Alcinius Woodfallow, Elowin's nephew. He's a really nice guy. I really want him and Elowin to talk. I would love that for them, but the situation as it stands is very awkward, naturally. He just wants to talk to Elowin, and he's basically written a letter for us to give to Elowin, and we were all very, apprehensive about it, and reasonably so, because Elowin, she does not want to talk to her family right now, and I don't blame her. Azaria takes the note and says that they'll give it to Elowin, but that's a moment for next session. We're not even halfway through this one, and you know the next episode is going to slap. So we get back to the inn, and the group plays Dragon Chest. Gideon hadn't really been exposed to that, so he really wanted to learn how to play. And of course, the party being from different times and places, we got into an argument about house rules, as friends do. And then afterwards, we all go to bed and we sleep well and uninterrupted. Hold that thought. The next day, the group goes shopping and is informed that the High Arcanist Charity Cozybug has indeed accepted our request to have a meeting with her. So we kill time. We visit Eckhart, the Artificer, begin checking out some other parts of the city. Nell and Drac go to the Temple of the High Planetari to pay a visit to our new friend, Miss Navara Quillon 3. Nailed it. The woman who attempted to cast a spell during Nell and Abe's arena fight. Then he goes into exquisite detail describing each of the statues of the planetary, and it's just narrative gold. We encounter the first devout worshippers of the god that Gideon pays tribute to on occasion, Equin Bach. They say Bach speed, as they're sort of like, have a nice day and may whatever watch over you sort of deal. It's probably the reason why he doesn't fully worship Equin Bach. He appreciates what they do for travelers, farmers, and merchants, basically the people of Balesville. So he more than happily leaves the traveler's blessing whenever he sees a statue. That is his way of practicing his faith. Albeit a very little bit of faith. He's not super devout, but he understands the power that gods hold over the world. Anyways, Nell and Drac hang out with Navara for a bit, and we learn some things about her. It's clear that she's a pretty sheltered child, as her mother keeps her close. Being the daughter of a deceased diarch could probably put a big target on your back, so understandably, but, she is very childish due to that. We then went to our meeting with Charity Cozybug. I was nervous for this. Before we jump into the meeting, Denny did an amazing job describing what this wizard's tower is like. It's basically like an office that's within the constellations themselves. It's super, super neat. Anyways, meeting. So we spill the beans about everything we have learned from episodes 1 to 29. Charity is obviously taken aback by all of this. Thankfully, though, she knows a lot of things that could potentially aid us in what we are trying to accomplish as our group. So I'm going to just speed run this as fast as I can. The stars have not yet begun to disappear, so thankfully our doomsday clock has not officially started, although it's still running in the background. Charity tells us a really cool story about why the Rinzar Peaks are so freaking cold. Charity Cozybug and Karjak Mithrilcoat did indeed have a connection before the Ascendancy. It was not a good one. Karjak Mithrilcoat should in fact be dead, and Charity is surprised to hear that he is in fact not dead. More on Karjak. Last time Charity saw him was like 50 years ago, and he was basically building up his fortress while everybody was storming the surface. His fortress had a very large supply of Argon Veludium inside of it. Argon Veludium being the metal that Abe is made out of, all the Argon folk, etc., etc. This is bad. Still no info on the bugs, though. Bigger yikes about Karjak. He was not a wizard when Charity knew him. He was in fact a paladin who had his powers stripped from him, but here he is now using magic. Charity does not remember Elia Hume, aka Patience, which means the event affected people's memories outside of Balesville. We do not know how deep this widespread memory loss goes. Charity attempted to get her mind fixed after she recognized that her mind had been tampered with, and it almost killed her. Drac tried using the sending spell to get in contact with Patience, but something is blocking it, whether it be a magical item that Patience has on her, or something else. More sinister, maybe, perhaps. I don't know. May the Midnight Sun Rise was a prayer that Karjak would do to their god, which was a giant floating gem which acted as a sun underneath the ground in the underworld that everybody used to live in when the dragons took over the surface. So, Karjak might be trying to rebuild a god. That's awful. One of Gideon's parents, if not both of Gideon's parents, may in fact be Starborn and not know it. Gideon has the mark on his chest, a soul scar, which is typically only reserved for Starborn. Gideon was always confused as to why he had this mark, but it may very well be that one of his parents are in fact Starborn. And if that is the case, I'm scared for my family. The Shen Kurai, the spy network that we've encountered a couple of times, they're from a place called the Onasha Dynasty, which is not close to here. But Karjak has been getting allies from distant kingdoms. This is also very bad. Nell talked to Charity about the predicament with her family being trapped in a sort of slowed state in time. Charity gave her a scroll of Dispel Magic and basically said the only way to find out is to test and see if this works. It could very well just be you need to dispel the area, but it could also be something far more sinister, but the only way to know is to find out, baby. That's what we're gonna do. Abe asks Charity if there's anything that Charity would possibly know about his past life, being as he fell in the Battle of Brulbar many years ago. Charity gave Abe a journal because Abe reminded her of somebody that she knew, and Adam knows all of that, I guess, now, and I don't. So I'm just gonna move on. Zarya then asks a hard-hitting question pertinent to their situation, being a person made out of living material and void material, which kind of exploded my brain, and also Charity's, and the rest of the parties. The question is, if you were born, grew up, and lived your life as you normally had, and then very, very far into your life, you find out that you are made of void null material, and your fate is grim, what do you do? What is the course of action? Brain? Charity then tells us that the construction of the railway has been halted due to the fact that they've run out of crystals. Now, the crystals they need are the crystals that we found inside of the Druid Enclave. We are apprehensive to reveal the location of the Water Druid Enclave for greed reasons, because if somebody who's in charge of building a railway hears that there is in fact a very large reservoir of these gems somewhere, which is on sacred ground, we do not want them treading on that ground because, use your brain, man, because that's just a recipe for disaster waiting to happen. So basically, Azaria tells Charity to go to the Smoky Gulf and investigate on her own first, and then decide from there after sort of talking with the druids and reaching back out to Azaria to let them know what the situation is. And so with all of that, the meeting ends. The group checks in with one another after the meeting to make sure we're all okay and, do our fun little roleplay bits, which our group loves, and I'm so happy that our group loves it. Drac makes an excellent point that the event in Balesville, the anomaly, could be tied to the stranger in shadow, aka the being that cursed Elwyn and many other people, and if so... Anyways, we go and pet the dogs that are the guards to Charity's portal to the universe. Wow, D&D is a game. We pick up some food and go to the Nightwalk Gardens, where we then chill and hang out and then tell some spooky stories, and then we get scared by some pranksters, and then we head home for the evening. We go to rest for the night. Or so we thought. Bernarda! Oh, remember those thoughts I told you to hold? She is paying us a visit. Bernarda says that Rollo, everybody's favorite little kobold, has got himself wrapped up with some Stormguard, aka that gang with the blue sort of iconography, which we fought in Valenbridge at the bid, one of the three. Bernarda has come here to ask us to help save him. Bernarda was extremely suspicious earlier. She didn't go to law enforcement for help, so this shit is sus. This is fishy, and probably an ambush of sorts. Gotta be on our toes. Maybe Bernarda is a member of the Stormguard. I don't know. Long story short, next episode is going to be crazy. We stream Play Dicely on the Dicely D&D Twitch channel every other Sunday. You gotta be there on July 17th when we come back from our summer break at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We hope to see you there. So my friends, that is all for this time. I hope you are staying happy, healthy, and kind, and always remembering to play Dicely.